All right, so good afternoon, everyone, and I'm happy to see you all today. So, thank you guys for allotting time during your week to attend an ACE Commerce Philippines event. And I hope everyone's excited because we will be starting our webinar in a few minutes. Thank you. All right. So hi again, everyone, and welcome to this week's ACE Commerce event. And thank you for joining us for today's exciting webinar. So my name is Patrice, and I'm a community associate of ACE Commerce Philippines, a cross-border entrepreneur learning community. So before I call on our speaker for today's webinar, let me introduce you guys to what ACE Commerce is. So Amazing Cross-Border Entrepreneur Commerce, or ACE Commerce, is a global entrepreneur community that started in Indonesia. So ACE Commerce is for anyone interested in learning about building successful cross-border commerce by exploring opportunities in a wide range of commerce, as well as having amazing insights and guidance from awesome founders and entrepreneurs. Of course, we also strive to bring in amazing founders, mentors, entrepreneurs to talk to our community of aspiring successful entrepreneurs, and we strive to provide the best online resources and content to our community to help them towards entrepreneurial success. So if you want to learn more about entrepreneurship and get updated for upcoming events, please like our Facebook page. And in order to connect with fellow entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs, you can join our Telegram group so you can network and ask advice from the community. So lastly, I'd like to go over a few items for those who want to have an e-certificate. So our participants must fill out the evaluation form to the end of the webinar. So the link will be given at the end of the talk and will be open until 11:59 p.m. only today. So you must send the proof of attendance at this webinar and a proof of a screenshot of this live and also a proof of your membership at our website. So it can be a screenshot of your account on Ace Commerce Philippines website. So in case some of you guys are not a member yet, then here's how you can sign up. Okay, so I hope everyone here is already a member, but if you're not, you can just sign up at our website after this webinar. So anyways, that's all from me because I know everyone is excited to meet our speaker. So let me introduce you guys to our key speaker. So our speaker for today is Miss Steph Naval, the founder and CEO of Empath Corporation. So this webinar is perfect for anyone interested in learning how to build and manage a business with enough care, empathy, affection, and attention to our mental health. So everyone, let us all welcome and give a round of applause to Miss Steph Naval. Hi, Miss Steph.
Hi, hello everyone. Can you hear me there?
Yes.
Yes? All right. So thank you so much for the host for the wonderful introduction. So I will just share my screen for everyone to be able to see the deck. So here. All right. So good afternoon, everyone. Yes. So can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Feel free to thumbs up. All right. So for today, we'd be talking about building building businesses with empathy. This is an ACE commerce event, and I'm really glad to be able to show everyone today of what it's like to build business with empathy, especially in line with my business that's called Empath, which is a mental health startup company here in the Philippines. And yeah, so let's get started. First, before anything, I'd love to introduce about who I am and what I do. So my name is Steph Naval, founder and chief executive officer of Empath. I graduated from Ateneo de Manila University. I was a very strong business background, and I really wanted to do good and social work here in the Philippines. And so that's why I entered my idea I had back then when it came to mental health, because I personally was struggling with the mental health difficulties and how it was extremely difficult here in the Philippines to get mental health care. So I entered it in United Nations Global Impact Challenge, which got into finals worldwide. And then, yes, I had it incorporated at August 2020. And from there on, it has been featured on Lifestyle Asia, CNN, and I was recently nominated last year for Impact Entrepreneur of the Year 2021 for Vilgrove, Philippines. So that's something, a brief background about me. And I just wanted to highlight that Empath started, or my business started, because of my personal empathy and being able to have those shared experiences of my personal experience when it came to the difficulties of mental health and also mental health care accessibility. And so with this, that's how Empath was born. And today, I'd like to share also with everyone here my personal experience when it came to building businesses with empathy. And yes, if you would like to contact me, I'll say it ahead of time. You can just contact me through social media, or if you have questions, @_ Steph Naval on Instagram or Twitter. And for the agenda we have here today, I'd love to talk about your vision, your sector, your team. So that's the purpose Venn diagram, design thinking and human-centered businesses, and also empathic leadership. So this is something that I would like to highlight. So let's start first with the purpose Venn diagram. For those who haven't heard of the purpose Venn diagram, it's a very good framework for anyone who would love to be able to find their purpose and really empathize with the sectors or communities that they want to serve. So the purpose Venn diagram, I highly recommend to draw 4 circles. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I want you to highlight, you don't need to mind these ones because it makes it a bit complicated. So for the sake of time, just the 4 simple circles, which is what are my strengths, what I love, what the world needs, and what I get paid for. And from that, the overlapping idea is that you will find purpose. And it's good to do this because it's a simplistic overview about where our current work situation is located, provides us a strong starting point to reflect on if we might miss an aspect in our current life and what the aspect could be. Why is it so important? Because it can gain clarity and declutter also unnecessary resources and energy put into other things to bring you good direction and what you can be known for as a woman leader, such as myself or a leader in general. So the next one is we talk about the 4 main circles and what I love. So first we can do with what I love. So I would highly recommend everyone to check out, maybe get a notebook or a pen or a paper to be able to discuss on what how to process this type of framework. So for example, you can write down what activities do I enjoy doing in school, what are the activities that I enjoy doing, what activity fuels me and gives me energy, what are activities that people don't enjoy, but personally I like to do. So for me, whether it was organizing, leadership, stepping in for roles, even just organizing even data or just organizing a flow chart. So all these mundane activities, did you like math? Did you like science? That's what you can say would bring you pure pleasure. And be honest with yourself also. It's activities that don't necessarily drain you, but really fuels you and gives you energy. So that's something that you want to be able to reflect and ponder on. The next one is what are my strengths? So where did I excel in the most in school? So you can write it over here. What activities did I like to do? What have people told me that I seem to be good at? What are traits and qualities people admired about me? What comes easy to me? So does math come easy to me? Does English, leadership come easy to me? Business? It doesn't even have to be subjects in particular, but particular activities that you were quite good at. Usually a good rule of thumb is if something is easy for you, then that's something that you are naturally good at as well. So a bit of reflections on these. And the next one is what I can get paid for. So what you can get paid for is based on my interests, what activities can generate money. So you follow where the money goes and what are income streams available to me right now. So there's a lot of new jobs coming up here in the market, and you never know that this is something that you can also be able to look into. What are examples of activities or investments that can generate passive income? So whether it's starting your own business, whether it's being relying on tech on the type of subscription basis. So this is something that where you can monetize and what you love to do. So in light of what your strengths are and what you love is what can you get paid for? And then lastly, which is one of the most important ones, is what the world needs. So were there moments in my life when I experienced a difficulty or struggle? Was it like mental health? Was it being able to experience in terms of schooling? What about the society today? And what were these moments? So best rule of thumb is to really look into the moments on where you had difficulties in life and maybe solutions you can help provide communities that are suffering and going through the same thing. What were problems I encountered in the world? What are real problems that real people are looking to fix? What are problems that are being brought to awareness right now? And yes, so from here, you're able to have just a general overview of the purpose Venn diagram. So with the purpose Venn diagram, again, it is what you love, what your strengths are, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for. And that's where you can find a good direction of purpose. So it's really your personal vision and your direction and how you empathize that and be able to have an overlap and intersection with what the world needs. And yes, how this is related to my personal story is that for my strengths are was fairly good in entrepreneurship and business savviness, because I think that's where I grew up also, with my family. And also what I love to do is really just organization, leadership, organizational development, empowerment, helping other people. And what you can get paid for is specifically in business. I can start a business. And what the world needs is particularly what I thought it needed was really meant access to mental health care. And this was a good marriage of a certain purpose that I wanted to strive for. And like, for example, how it was helping in terms of clarity, that was like a one-way street type of example. Like, I knew that I love to be of service of people. What I can get paid for, maybe I could be a psychologist, but it didn't align to my strengths. I personally don't think I'm not really great in sciences or all those things. I really rather do entrepreneurship or business. So, okay, but I still want to cater to the mental health advocacy. So that's why my career path or my purpose was really making a business out of in line with mental health. I may not be a psychologist or psychiatrist because that's not really where my strengths are, but my strength was in business and entrepreneurship. And with this, I was able to discover my type of purpose. So you can see here how these two examples I gave and how it can help redirect you and reform. If it's not aligned to these four, then perhaps it might not be a good alignment with your purpose or what you want to do. So yes, that's the purpose Venn diagram. So you're able to bring empathy from yourself to other people. And along with that transition, I'd also like to introduce something that's called design thinking and human-centered businesses. So that's the second part of today's agenda. So it would be a certain process in which we seek to understand the user, challenge assumptions, and redefine problems in attempt to identify alternative strategies and solutions that might not be instantly apparent with our initial understanding. Okay, that was a bit heavy, but let me break it down for you. So it revolves around a deep interest in developing an understanding of the people for whom we're designing the products or services for, and it helps us observe and develop empathy with the target sector. So let's say you have a target market. Design thinking is all about not much of, oh, I think that this is what the customer wants, I think this is what they need, but rather it's more of asking them what they want and asking them what they need and actually doing the research and making it more human centered. So it's validating and challenging assumptions and redefining problems in attempt to identify alternative strategies and solutions, whether it's heavy research, really getting into the product testing, and there's a certain process for it. So I will introduce you to this process. It has five elements. So there's first empathize with them. And then when you're able to empathize, it's really to be able to identify with the user, with your users. And for example, users or your clients or your customers. And then next one, after you're able to empathize with them, you are able to define. So what is defining? So it's your users' needs, their problems, and their insights. So asking them what they would like, what they would need, what would work best for them, what works, what doesn't. And then from there, from defining, you are able to ideate. So with ideation, you challenge that certain assumptions and creating ideas for innovative solutions. And from defining the problem or defining what they like and don't like, then you provide a solution. So you give, okay, given this insight we have from our user, from our customer, what is the best way to be able to address this certain concern? Then the next one is important to prototype. So make a minimum viable product, whether you prototype for innovative creating solutions. So it's the actual sample type of product. From there, you have a test run. And then you are able to test it out and validate what you were able to learn here, the insights and the ideation stage. So this is a bit theoretical, but I can ground it down for a bit, for example, with an example. So there was a study before about provincial community. I think it was somewhere in the Philippines. So provincial community, that there was a mortality rate. There was a problem of a lot of mothers dying because of giving birth, because they are not given medical attention, they're not brought to the hospital. So a lot of mortality rates happen when the mothers would have to give birth. So what the government decided I think this was in the Philippines, not sure about it. But then in this provincial area, the government decided that, okay, we need more hospitals because they need to have more beds, more hospitals, and they'll um, be able to cater to the mothers who are in need of giving birth. And so we can save more lives. So what they did, the government spend so much money on building all these hospitals. But in the end, the problem still happened. They weren't going to the hospitals. They were still, the mortality rate was still the same. They weren't being attended to. So they had to reinvestigate, okay, what happened and what we can do better. So a researcher team came in and had design thinking set up. So what they were able to do is they empathized with the community. They were able to understand them, and they did interviews, they asked around, they tried to really investigate in what they wanted to know. So in fact, it wasn't the hospitals, the number of hospitals that were the problem. It's just the people there were actually scared of people wearing white. It was some along with their culture. Like they didn't like seeing people wearing white in the, and of course with doctors, that's something they wear. It's like an all white type of uniform. So what they did in the end, instead of spending more or millions of pesos on a hospital or more hospitals, what they did was they just changed the color of clothes. So they, instead of white, it was a different color. And from there, more mothers decided to like, okay, I think this is a safer place for them. I think it was just culturally, they found the color white intimidating. And so they also talked to the elders of the village and the elders to be able to bring them along to the, and not feel less intimidated when going to the hospital when they have to give birth. And then there, they were able to identify, empathize with them, define the problem, provided a solution. They tested it in a small group. They had a prototype, then tested it in a small group, and they were able to go about it. So yes, that's one of the powers of design thinking. So imagine they could have saved, let's say, a lot of money if they just really stop to think and empathize with their sector, define the problem, then ideate, then test and validate if what their insights and ideations correct. Well, that's one. And then the next one is that when it comes to this type of framework, it's also important and for us to realize that it doesn't have to be linear. It can actually go a variety of ways. So you can empathize with them, and then once you're able to define it, and then you ideate, you think of a solution, but then you realize when you prototype, it didn't turn out so well. So you go back to empathizing again, and then you can define and then ideate. Then you can go to prototype, then testing, then it didn't do so well. So you go back to ideation and so on and etc. So it can go around in circles or either way, but these are really good elements to start things off. So yeah, so this is design thinking and really human-centered business. At least just a rundown of what it is. The next one is empathic leadership. So means having the ability to understand the needs of others and being aware of their feelings and thoughts. So we were first able to talk about the self, which would be your personal vision. And with that personal vision, you're able to realize that to empathize with the community. So remember the last circle, which is what the world needs. And then you're able to empathize with the community with through design thinking. And then now we were talking about empathic leadership. So being an empath within your team. So this means the ability to understand the needs of others and being aware of their feelings and thoughts. So how do you do this? So here are 4 tips that I would love to share and that empath practice or throughout my journey here with empath. Yes, because empathic leadership is really a core value we have. And so for the first one, I think it's good to watch for the signs of burnout. So work burnout, or even just for academics or school, is a very real problem today. And it comes at a greater risk during times of intense stress and pressure. Many people are stressed, putting in more work hours than ever before, and finding it difficult to separate work and home life, whether it's with the hybrid setup, the online learning, and the anxiety that's causing the pandemic. So as a leader, it's your responsibility to really watch out the signs of burnout for your team and be able to address it and help them out when they need it. So being an empath and really understanding them. If this person is going through difficult times, And when the person of your teammates is going through difficulties, really empathize with them and see how you can help out. And that also works well productively. So at least you're able to catch them before things go the other way. So it's nice to also catch your employees and catch your teammates or the members working with you, co-workers. So you can also save the project in that sense before things get worse. So that's one of the first tips of having empathic leadership is watch for the signs of burnout, especially for yourself and also your team members. The next one is show sincere interest in the needs, hopes, and dreams of other people. Part of leading with empathy involves working to understand the unique needs and goals of each team member, and how to best match work assignments to contribute to both performance and employee satisfaction. Team members who see that their manager recognizes them in this way are more engaged and willing to go the extra mile. And then here, for me, an empath, I am invested in each and every team member, not just in work, but also in their personal life, in their love life, in their if some of them are still studying, their schoolwork, their passion projects. So it's great to socialize with people and really get to know them for the things outside the work or outside the group project that you have, because it just shows that you also care. And for this, you can keep rooting them on if they are able to succeed and do well in these things. So being their support system, and part of leading empathy is being invested in them. Because what happens is if you show that you're sincerely and genuinely invested in someone, they're invested in you and the work that they need to do for you as well. So yes, those are interesting tips. And then the third one is to demonstrate a willingness to help an employee with personal problems. For me, for sure, lines between work and personal life are becoming increasingly blurred. Empathic leaders understand that their team members are dynamic individuals who are shouldering personal problems while having to maintain their professional responsibilities. They recognize that it's part of their role to lead and support those team members when they need it most. Well, for me, let's say if an employee or a coworker has difficult times right now in the home, or they can't keep up with certain deliverables, it's really reaching out and asking, oh, how can I help you? I'd love to help and support you right now with what you're going through. And that's something that empathic leaders can do. And for them, that will grow really an extra mile for them, because they know that you're a genuine person and that you're willing to sit down with them. I guess take note also when you think that you're not as equipped with it. So if it's a really heavy problem that you think you can't handle, or you don't have the mental headspace, that's completely fine. Don't dive yourself into that. But if you think you have the mental health space and the capacity to reach out and help someone, then yeah, your teammates and employees would be the best people to do that for. The next one is show compassion when other people disclose a personal loss. So a lot of people have been experiencing grief and personal loss throughout the pandemic. Real connections and friendships at work matter, and empathic leadership is a tool that managers can use to establish bonds with those they're privileged to lead. We've all been through personal loss, so even if we can't relate to the specific loss or team member experiences, we can act empathetic and let them know that they're being supported. So this is something that we can practice, really, is showing compassion, not just brushing things off like, okay, let's get to work, or like, okay, like, but our project, like, hassle naman, this person has problems or they experience a loss. We can take a moment to stop first and acknowledge it, and then see how we can do things moving forward. Really, just taking a pause can really do wonders in showing compassion and empathy to the person that you're trying to address with the personal problem or the personal loss. And yeah, so just to summarize for these things, I want you to first, for empathic leadership, is first watch for the signs of burnout, being mindful about yourself and also for others. And so you can be able to catch them as a preventive measure before they're able to go through the other end. The second one is to show sincere interest in the needs, hopes, and dreams of other people. And then third, demonstrate the willingness to help an employee or, let's say, coworker or teammate or groupmate with personal problems. And then fourth, show compassion when other people disclose a personal loss or a personal difficulty. And really just that moment of pause to acknowledge what they're going through can go an extra mile. So yeah, so here, building businesses with empathy, we were able to first talk about your vision, so the purpose Venn diagram on things that you want and the things that you love, the things that your strengths are, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for. Aligning to those four values, you're able to bring empathy within yourself and the vision that you'd want to do. And there's empathy to the sector you want to serve, or for the business and services that you want to provide. You do design thinking and human-centered businesses. So it's centered on the human being of how else we can be of service to others, really empathizing with them and getting understanding them and not making false assumptions that I think person A, B, C, D would like this and that would not like this. But you should always revalidate and question your assumptions so you're able to better and accurately empathize with the consumer, with the customer, and with the client you have for your business. And the next one, of course, not only do you empathize with the client, but you also empathize within your team, which through empathic leadership that we discussed on earlier. So I'll also share a bit of how I was able to do this in Empath. So with Empath, I had my purpose Venn diagram. I knew that perhaps being a psychologist and psychiatrist wasn't aligned to my strengths. It was more business. So, but I did have a passion to serve and for the mental health advocacy. So I did this for a whole year. I gave my pitch August 2019. And then for the year until August 2020, I was just revalidating, prototyping, pivoting, because there are a lot of changes when you have a startup. And there's a lot of changes you undergo through, and you always have to question the assumptions that you have and really empathize and make it a customer centric or client centric type of business and service, which is an empath we're very proud of. And lastly, to also practice empathy within your team, because I promise a really great value to have within your team is empathy. It's not weakness. It's not just giving excuses to others, because there's such a thing that, yes, I understand, but not necessarily agree with things. Like that's a powerful statement that I learned growing up. Empathic leadership is also about being human-centered and caring for your team, at the same time, still being able to bring value to the clients or the sector that you still would like to serve. For a team, there was setbacks also with certain building businesses with empathy, because it was difficult to balance out whether something should be impact based or should it be profit based. And yeah, that creates tension with also decisions. But at the end of the day, I come from the business philosophy that you will profit. Or good money comes when you're able to make good impact and valuable propositions for your clients, for your customers, and for the sector that you want to serve. So because of this, I'm really happy that our team has been able to help us achieve to many things. So we were able to partner with the Philippine government of a 2.1 million peso grant, to DOST, DTI, and then encounter with many cohorts and also grant receiving. So we were able to achieve a lot of accomplishments because I aligned myself to building businesses with empathy. I'd like to say that it's very much possible. And that's something that I hope that everyone is inspired to be able to do, because we do need more businesses that are built with empathy. So at the end of the day, that's something that I want everyone here watching in this webinar, this talk, to understand that when it comes to empathy, it's not a weakness, it's a superpower. So I hope there are more people that become empaths after this. Oh yes, thank you so much. And if you have any questions, feel free to be able to chat it up or comment in. But I actually, in talks, I'm very open for conversations with through IG or in Twitter. You can feel free to privately message me there, or on LinkedIn as well. Some people have messaged me through LinkedIn after talks. All right, thank you, everyone.
All right. So thank you so much for that insightful talk, Miss Step. And as someone who is interested in how empathic leadership and businesses works, I could really apply the tips and lessons learned today when I begin my own career in the future. So I know a lot of you guys are looking forward to ask questions to know more about the topic today. So we are now opening the floor to some questions. So Eliza will be the one to address you during the Q&A portion. So please send your questions through the live chat box there on YouTube. So hi, Eliza.
Hi everyone, I'm also a community associate of Ace Commerce and I'll be the host for today's Q&A. I know you guys have a lot in mind, so please do not hesitate to send your questions in the YouTube chat box. While waiting for some questions to come in, I'm actually curious to know, when is the purpose Venn diagram most applicable in an organizational setting? Do you think it will be effective in a team building activity or when a company hires a new employee?
I think the purpose Venn diagram is great more for an individual pathfinding. So it's really great when actually at this age, I think most of the audience's ages here would be college or transitioning out also in very transitional stages of your life. I think that would be the best time to use it. When you feel like you're feeling quite lost or you're languishing or you haven't much brought clarity to it yet. So, and when you're overwhelmed with so many things happen and the uncertainty. So I think that's the best time to use the purpose Venn diagram.
All right. So another question is that how can a small business owner like me focus on having a design thinking and human-centered business? How can I improve my communication with my clients to achieve this?
Okay, for this one, sorry, can I just clarify the question? So for it was a bit choppy. Sorry, can it be repeated again?
I'm so sorry. So they're asking, how can a small business owner like me focus on having a design thinking and human-centered business? How can I improve my communication with my clients to achieve this, assuming that they want to get their clients' feedback?
Yeah, I think honestly, design thinking can be done for free. You can ask it just on a poll on Instagram. That's what Empath does sometimes. So like you can ask them, just message friends about it. It doesn't even have to just be a survey, like a formal survey, because some people tend to not answer surveys that are long. Set a one-to-one call with a friend. That would be free. It could also just be researching about the market. You can be stalking people also and what they like and don't like, everything there in social media. Or you can make polls or just ask questions on like an Instagram story or just a post as well or in a Facebook group. So it's very much accessible and it's really about being creative of having to maximize the least cost, but the richest insight as well.
All right. So another viewer or audience is asking, as a boss, how will you show empathy to an employee who has a history of a rude personality?
Has a history of a good personality, is that correct?
Rude
Personality. That's a very interesting one. I have came across people who are like that. I think the goal is really they're not rude to you because you're less of a person, but because they're personally going through their own struggles. It's really bringing empathy. I think that's a great question to also ask and really empathizing with people, not saying that you should allow them to like walk over you or really to to be a pushover in that sense, but it honestly is better to bring a peace of mind to yourself. Like don't allow being angry at them live rent free in your mind and to waste up space. I think empathy is really the best way to be able to understand them and humanize them also. Because most of the time, when someone's rude or angry, it's really not you as a person, it's really on them and perhaps what they're experiencing, and it's just projecting also.
All right. So the next question, how do you deal with an employee who misunderstood your way of showing empathy?
Sorry, I hope I can clarify this. What do you mean misunderstood their way of showing empathy?
Oh, they didn't explain it, but I think maybe the employee feels like you're overstepping their lives or something like that.
Okay. For boundaries, empathy is also you can just always communicate and clarify with them that, oh, it's just because I just genuinely care. And really because we're teammates and I do genuinely care each and every teammate. So I would not just do it for you, but I'd also do it for the rest of each member of the team. That's one. The second one is for being empathy. If you're worried about um, going through boundaries, empathy is also active listening, really just being key and listening to them and not necessarily always just checking up on them, and really just taking a step back and listening. So those are the things that I would also recommend. So it's really communication and active listening.
Right. So another one. Can you give us examples on how Empath helps MSMEs entrepreneurs?
Empath, well, how Empath helps entrepreneurs, is that correct?
Yeah, small and medium enterprises, entrepreneurs in particular.
Yeah, we do a lot of great partnerships with small and medium enterprises. We are able to, I guess, even co-branding and really collaborate. Right now, we're collaborating perhaps with certain startups on really helping boost their mental health. We can also help in terms of your team, being able to help your team mentally so they'll be able to be productive and be able to live like job more higher and job satisfaction as well. So really helping the workplace be a friendlier and psychologically safe place to work in.
Okay, thank you. So another person is asking, what is your best advice for graduating students who have no idea and are scared of the future on what they will do or where they will apply for work?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. For me, the best one is to not worry at all. I know that's easier said than done, but you really have what more than like are almost a century still ahead of you, like more than half a century. So like 50 or 60 years there. I know it seems a little scary, but to tell you the truth, your first job is usually not the last one you'll have. So it's not like once you lock into that job, you're already there forever. It's all about exploratory phase, which is really great. And please don't pressure yourself that you need to get the job right the first time, because it honestly takes like 3 to 5 years for you to have an exploratory phase and really land on the dream job that you want. You may be lucky, like some people, to do the dream job, but honestly, I would highly recommend come to a mindset of exploratory and not pressuring that once you submit that application, yes, you're locked in that job for the next 60 years. That's not necessarily the case. So come into the mindset of exploratory and at the same time, reevaluate and use the purpose Venn diagram as you go through those exploratory phases.
Another one. How did this thinking help you to be successful in your business? Do you think it will be applicable to all businesses?
Oh, I think I wouldn't say that it's applicable to each and every one because that might be generalizing things. But design thinking has honestly been really life changing and game changing for the industry because it's very customer and client centric, and it's also bringing value. It's a rising concept for some of you who haven't heard of it, and it's really a secret sauce to one of why Empath has been the success so far in Empath is because we empathize with the client well. We're able to deliver what they want and need. And from the very little nuances of so many things, the whole user experience, the client experience. And for me, I think design thinking has really been one of the big key indicators or key success elements to why Empath has been getting traction for how it is. And I think it's going to help with a lot of businesses. So highly recommend it. You can actually ask me for consultations or questions on how you can fit it into your business. But for anyone who's building a value-based business or human-centered business, I really highly suggest that design thinking will 80 to 90% work most of the time. So yes.
I'm sure everyone will consult you if they're interested. Okay, so in the next one, how is empathy within businesses helpful, especially with regards to human resource management, since there are still managers that are too strict, which results to resignations?
Yeah, empathy is really an important core value, I feel like, for a lot of businesses, especially if they want to be human centered, because I think it's a slowly phasing out trend of really bad bosses. Like I'm the boss, it's my way or the highway, or I don't care what you do. What matters is work. I think that's very outdated, and it's slowly becoming phasing out here in the Philippines. It's not there completely yet, but then it's slowly phasing out. And I think the way for you to grab really good talent, good work ethic, and a really healthier environment of people to stay in and really perform well is through empathy and being able to care for your employees, whether it's mentally, their successes, their personal life, their goals. So I really think empathy would be a really powerful tool in every business.
That's right. So another one is asking, as a future human resource officer, how can you show empathy to those employees who used false reasoning for them to receive consideration?
Sorry, can I clarify? Uses false, what was that? Sorry.
False reasoning. They didn't really expound on that, but I
Oh,
guess
okay.
excuses.
Yeah, good question for 59. There is a way for you to be empathetic to people and understanding to people, but still being ethical and being like drawing the line when it is needs to be drawn. So if they use false reasoning, or let's say they're not being ethical, or they really need to be called out for it, you can. Empathy is not being providing excuses to people who have done wrong. It's not justifying. It's not supposed to justify that, oh, we have to just understand the person because like this. You can reprimand someone in a proper way, in the right process, in a calm way also. At the same time, to call them out also for it. But at the same time, I guess you can understand. So I think the keyword is like, yes, I understand you, but I'm sorry, I don't agree with what happened, or what you were doing, etc. I think it's A, B, and C. So you can express empathy, but it's really communication and being able to still draw the line with them about it.
Thank you. So moving on, how to purposely find your passion when you are having health problems and a limited social interaction?
I think that's also an interesting question, because for when it comes to passion and when it comes to what you want to do, I actually don't think it's contrary. If you have health and certain limitations in social interactions, you can use that. For me, how I did it was I could have, for example, with my mental health conditions, I could have allowed it to like consume me. I could have allowed it, but I realized, hey, this is a pain point that society has, and I can actually use this as a strength. So I can use this to fuel my passion. I can use this to be able to cater to my strengths, like for example building a business that caters for mental health. So I'm not sure about the question yet, but from the limited knowledge I got from the question, but correct me if I'm wrong, for whoever asked this, would love to get in a conversation with you about it. It's really, I hope you don't think that they're contrary, or I can't find my passion. I'd love to find it, but I have health concerns and I also have limitations. Honestly, use those limitations as a strength. Like, find them out. I'd love to break it down with you and see and angle it as well on how things that I personally thought was a weakness or what was wrong with me are actually my biggest drivers and strengths. So it's something that I call the Hulk mindset. So is anyone familiar with the superhero Hulk? So with Hulk from Marvel, he what happened here was, for Hulk, if he didn't manage or redirect his anger or his emotions properly, he became the indestructible and he became a quote unquote monster or the villain for things. But once he redirected his what he thought was his weaknesses to his strengths, he became a superhero. So I hope people come in more to that mindset, on being able to have the Hulk mindset and really utilize what you think is your weakness to your ultimate strengths.
Thank you. So another question that's somehow related to that. How can we better show empathy to a person who has mental health struggles?
Yes. Interesting question. Really good question for this one. For someone, sometimes you can just do active listening. There is a workshop we hold here in Empath also about active listening and being able to have mental health first aid for someone who's struggling through things mentally. But then first one, sometimes don't feel like you always need to say something. You can always just listen and just allow them to explain. So know two things, whether they want to just emotionally rant to someone or emotionally for someone to be there, or actual practical advice. So know the difference. You can even just ask them, like, do you want someone emotionally to be with you, or are you looking for someone who giving you practical advice for something? And then they'll say it, like they would more or less know. And then yes, you can give that. There's such a thing called holding space. Sometimes just being there, like, oh hey, like if you feel like you have nothing to say, you can just, oh Tara, let's just Zoom or let's go on Discord, and yeah, I'll be here with you. And then you don't even have to talk, like we can just do our own thing. Basta someone there is holding space. So like active listening, holding space, no, don't feel pressure to provide advice. And you can recommend them to empath for any other cases that you feel like should be brought to a psychotherapist or a psychologist or a mental health professional.
It's noted. So the next question, moving on. Uh, Being an empath requires you to be more understanding of the individual situation. So will you be understanding if one of your employees engages in a bad habit in your company on a regular basis?
Mm-hmm. For us, just clarifying again, it's not just about understanding. Like an empath, I'm actually quite strict sometimes with the quality and excellence we should provide our clients. So I really just called it out. It's something that's called practicing also how to give feedback. So it's, if you're familiar with the feedback sandwich, it's like positive, genuine positive comment, then the feedback point of improvement, and then you end with a positive note also. So for this one, I highly suggest that could be a good feedback because you can still do it, that format, in a very empathic way and understanding way, but still drawing the line and saying that this is a bad habit, this is something for your improvement. And you're not being also, I feel like you're also not being a good person when you aren't able to express things when someone is in need of points of improvement as well, at the proper channel, proper timing, and proper way of saying it.
Okay, noted. So someone else is asking, I think having empathy is a great quality both for employers and employees. But some people aren't curious enough to be more understanding. So how can you tell if someone is empathetic towards you?
Mm, how can you tell if someone is empathetic towards you? Um, I think maybe perhaps if they are able to feel through your emotions. So, for example, in a sense that they're able to be mindful about how you're feeling, be caring about what you're feeling, and being invested if like you're sad or if you're happy or if you're able to have certain emotions. So I think it's being mindful for emotions. I hope that was able to answer the question. But then, yeah, that's I think how you can figure out if someone is empathetic towards you.
Yeah, I think it answers the man. So moving on. Aside from empathy, what qualities or characteristics do you think also help the businessman to become successful?
Ooh, I think grit. Grit is very important. Falling in love with the problem and not the solution. Meaning that you're not attached with the idea of like, oh wow, starting being an entrepreneur, you decide all the glamour with it. I think being there and getting your hands dirty and having grit to be able to build businesses with your bare hands type of thing. And being able to continue and carry on despite how difficult it is. So passion is what gets you started, but grit is what keeps you going. Grit and discipline is what keeps you going.
Noted. So, what are your tips on how to draw a line when a person is having a hard time on doing so? Like you're always justifying and choosing to see the good things on someone too much. I think this is in terms of in a company.
Like how do you draw the line for boundaries?
Yeah.
I think I think it's ask for space. Wow, space. Like parang relationship. But then for this one, to draw the line, I think it's being mindful of yourself. If you know it's eating you up or it's drawing so much unnecessary energy from you and it's not worth it, I think allow yourself to have space. You can mention that, oh, sorry, I'm not in the mental health space right now. I just need to like recuperate or be more mindful and just have some time for myself. So I think that's also a good way of being able to draw the boundaries and really just express and communicate in the proper way how it's affecting you mentally and how it's personally affecting you also.
Okay, noted. So the next one, based on your experience, what do you think employees value the most in a workplace? And how do you give or show it to them?
Yeah, for me, I think based on the interviews I did before, it was culture and at the same time growth. So in Empath, we have a learning culture. Like we don't have much in terms of extra funds because we're just a startup. But personally, I try to find learning opportunities for the employees. So like, tara, there's a free webinar. It's for free. Let's go together. So we come in together as a barkada and we learn so many things together, whether it's intellectual discussions, whether it's learning a new skill and just having empathic type of culture. I think that's one of the things that people actually enjoy, like working with empath, or that's what they've been telling me, that working and being an empath is literally like a breath of fresh air, because of the community that we build. And those things can be given for free, like kindness and empathy is for free and no charge. So yeah, so that's something that I highly encourage everyone to do. So it's really culture, an empathic culture, at the same time quality, and also growth and learning.
All right. Thank you so much for your answers. That's the last one. And I'm giving the floor back to Patrice. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. So thank you so much, Eliza. And once again, thank you so much, Miss Steph, for answering the question and for the insightful talk you have shared with me and everyone in this Zoom room. So with that, we want to award this certificate of appreciation to you for being our speaker for today. So Ace Commerce Philippines award this certificate of appreciation to Miss Steph Naval for imparting her valuable insight and inspiration at the Ace Commerce webinar entitled Building Businesses with Empathy, given on this day, March 18, March 18, 2022, Manila, Philippines, signed by Franz, CEO and founder of Asia Commerce. So thank you once again, Ms. Steph, for being such an inspiration to me and the peoples of today's event. And we really appreciate you allotting time for us. And it was truly an honor to have you speak for us. So before you go, is there anything else you want to promote, or where can our audience reach you?
Yeah, so for Empath, you can check out our Instagram and Facebook and Twitter pages at empath_ph, or you can even contact me through Instagram or social media or LinkedIn, which is under Steph Naval, and @_Steph Naval is, you can contact me there if you have any questions, or if you just want to hop in a Zoom call together, I'd be happy to do that.
All right, so thank you so much once again, Ms. Steph. And moving on to our following announcement, our weekly webinars will continue next week, March 25, Friday. We hope to see you again for our webinar entitled Saving, Budgeting, and Investing, Get Solid Foundation, led by Mr. Charles Chavez, the financial coach, advisor, and manager candidate at Sun Life and co-owner at Healthy Rapid PH. So you can RSVP on our website for this event. Again, thank you guys, and see you next week, same day and same time. So finally, guys, for the last reminder for the participants who would want to have an e-certificate, so please do not forget to create an Ace Commerce account through our website, acecommerce.org, as we give announcement for future webinars where you can RSVP. So please also do not forget to answer the e-certificate form that will be sent at the chat box. So friendly reminder that we will strictly no longer entertain concerns about e-certificate and create e-certificates for those who failed to answer the Google form. So please avoid making errors in putting your emails, since incorrect emails will no longer be our responsibility. So if you want to learn more about entrepreneurship and get updated for upcoming events, please like our Facebook page. And in order to connect with fellow entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs, you can join our Telegram group so you can network and ask advice from the community. So that's it, guys. And remember that the evaluation form will be closed at exactly 11:59 p.m. today. So for concerns, kindly message us on our Facebook page or on our Telegram channel. So thank you again, everyone, for joining our event today. And I hope we see you in our next event, March 25, Friday. Thank you, everyone.